Ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna call to order the planning board meeting, Bellbrook. The Bellbrook Planning Board meeting agenda for Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Finally got that out. Roll call.
Mr. Bennett,
Here.
Mr. Stengel,
Here.
Mr. Thompson,
Here.
and Mr. Tuttle.
Here.
All present.
Any conversation on the minutes from the February 17th planning board meeting?
No. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of February 17th, 2022.
I'll second that.
I don't think we're doing motions for meetings, are we?
You don't have to, but
Oh, we don't have to? Oh,
All right.
since it's been made, we'll call it.
okay.
Alright.
On a motion to approve the minutes from February 17th, Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Stengel,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, no old business, so we're looking at new business of the planning board, or the 2203 zoning code update. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. If it's all right with you, I'll go through all the changes and then reserve questions until the end.
Please.
Thank you, sir. All right, our first proposed change, under Article 3.02 definitions, is a definition of an accessory dwelling unit or auxiliary dwelling unit. I believe that the planning board heard a case about this, or some discussion about this at some point last year. But that definition is a second dwelling unit subordinate to the principal dwelling that shares ownership and utility connections with the principal unit on a single-family zoned lot. And moving on to under conditional use, the definition of conditional use. Just a grammatical change there, definitely foreseen, just change to foreseen. Under multifamily or multiple family, enclosed patio is a new addition. That was not in, that is a popular addition for a house. So enclosed patio, an enclosed area immediately adjacent and connected to a structure which is not constructed nor intended as livable area. Such structures may be enclosed by screens or windows, which shall compose at least 50% of any outside wall. Under lot of record, again, a grammatical change from actually exists to just exists.
Missed that. Don't have that.
I don't either.
Oh, did I?
Yep. Next thing we have has to do with patios.
Well, go ahead,
I'm
Jason.
sorry. It was a grammatical change
Okay.
from actually exists to exists.
Oh, okay.
New definition for patio, an open-sided ground level improvement of the surface of a lot without roof, which covers the vegetation and ground with concrete, wood, stone, gravel, or other non-living building material. And then also patio cover, also a popular addition to a home. A projection out from the building to cover an area used for outdoor living or entryway. No vehicle, car, or similar vehicle may be stored or parked under this projection. It is different than a carport. Under planned development, another grammatical change, scratching out definitely before a program series of development. Also, a change to the recreational vehicle. About halfway down, types of recreational vehicles include, I added but are not limited to, boats, motorhomes, travel trailers, campers, jet skis, snowmobiles, off-road vehicles, etc. Temporary storage container, also a new definition. A structure manufactured primarily for temporary or movable storage, including but not limited to pods. Moving on to Article 4, under 4.04, a grammatical change. Again, land that is zoned, and we scratched out previous to and just left before. Under Article 5, 5.01, intent. Again, a grammatical change from is to are. And then in 5.02, under principal uses, the definition of accessory dwelling now is spelled out into a code. So we added number 7 under principal permitted uses, which is accessory dwelling units. And all of the necessary codes that those dwellings will have to follow. A, an accessory dwelling unit may be located within a principal single-family detached dwelling or a detached accessory structure on the same lot as a principal dwelling. B, the accessory dwelling unit shall have all public utilities with the principal dwelling unit or share all public utilities with the principal dwelling unit. Accessory dwelling units shall not be metered separately. C, a minimum of 1 off-street parking space shall be provided on the lot for the accessory dwelling unit, in addition to the off-street parking spaces required for the principal dwelling unit. D, the accessory dwelling unit shall be limited in size to a maximum of 50% of the total living area of the principal dwelling unit, or a maximum of 800 square feet, whichever is less in the R1AA zoning district. The accessory dwelling unit shall be limited in size to a maximum of 50% of the total living area of the principal dwelling unit, or 600 square feet in R1A or R1B zoning districts. E, the accessory dwelling unit shall contain a living area, a minimum of 1 bathroom, and a cooking facility. And G, no new access points or driveways shall be created or installed for access to the accessory dwelling unit. These are all new additions because of the popularity and the encouragement of the city for people to be able to age in place. Moving all the way to section 17.03, under general standards for plan developments, number 2, the plan is in conformity with the comprehensive plan or is acceptable by the planning board and or city council. This board and or city council does have the ability to approve something that doesn't necessarily mingle, so to speak, with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I don't think I have that page either.
Did I miss another one?
What was that one?
No, you skipped,
Is it out of
mixture
order?
of chemicals have not been tested, but will contain any chemical, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
It's under regulated substances.
it was just looks like a
It's
grammatical
just a
change.
grammatical error. It's no
Oh,
big
is it, okay.
That's
Is
no
it a
big deal.
grammatical change? I apologize.
So we're on 1703?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, where 17032, the plan is in conformity with the comprehensive plan. And then I added, excuse me, or is acceptable by the planning board and or city council. This board and council does have the ability to approve things beyond the comprehensive plan. 17.083, 2 grammatical changes. One in the first paragraph, struck out particular. And again, in number 3, also striking out particular. (1805C), temporary storage units. Pods are a very highly used structure now for moving and or people doing renovations at their home. That was not in the zoning code prior to now. So 1805C, temporary storage units. A temporary storage unit may be permitted in any residential, commercial, or agriculturally zoned lot provided the following criteria are met. A permit is required for the use and placement of a temporary storage unit. B, only 1 unit may be permitted on any property at any time for a maximum of 30 days, not more than 3 times per calendar year. C, each use requires a permit. permits can be issued and units on site consecutively, but not concurrently. D, it must be placed on a hard surface driveway in the front or side of the building, totally visible from the right-of-way. E, the unit must be placed on private property behind the sidewalk and out of the right-of-way. F, the unit must maintain a minimum of 2 feet of separation from any building located on the same parcel as the unit. G, the unit shall remain closed when not being loaded or unloaded. H, no substance may leak from inside the unit. No trash or refuse may be stored within the unit. I, no unit shall be located closer to an adjacent parcel than the required minimum side or rear yard setback for accessory uses in that district. J, no unit shall be used for human or animal occupation. K, no unit shall be located in such a manner on any property as to create a public nuisance. Moving on to Article 18, 18A, the following types of signs. We added directional sign, not previously in the code. Directional sign is a sign that conveys information that pertains to the direction of traffic movement onto or within a premise. Under I, sandwich boards, added an additional sentence there: a sandwich board shall only be displayed during the hours in which the business is open. Under signs permitted in residential districts, E, a temporary sign may bear a non-commercial message. I struck out the final sentence there. If the non-commercial message relates to an election or other event, such sign shall be removed within 10 days following the conclusion of the event. I struck that out because any political style sign, or any sign for that matter on private property, is deemed freedom of speech. Again, the same sentence struck out in E under multifamily residential. And then the same struck out on temporary signs allowed in residential or in commercial or industrial areas, which is E, the next E. 1820B, signs permitted in the Old Village District. Under 3B, changed flat to wall to be consistent with the rest of the zoning code. Same thing under physical characteristics of signs. Struck out flat, added wall to be consistent. Number 5, erection and display of signs. This was changed to be consistent with what was already approved by the Village Review Board. No exterior sign may be erected or displayed within the Old Village without prior approval of, and then struck out the Village Review Board and added the Community Development Department. Should the applicant wish to apply for an alternate amount, size, or material of signage permitted in Section 1820 of the zoning code, the applicant shall seek approval from the Village Review Board. What that means is if the sign is compliant with the code, then they don't need to go to the Village Review Board. It would be an administrative review, just like if it were outside of the Old Village. Same thing under B, conforming, where it's basically the same text, but no new sign shall be erected, no change in size, shape, color, or content of any existing conforming sign shall be permitted without prior approval of, struck out Village Review Board, added Community Development Department, and should the applicant wish to apply for an alternate amount, size, or material of signage permitted in Section 1820 of the zoning code, the applicant shall seek approval from the Village Review Board. Again, under temporary signage, it's the same thing, to maintain consistency. Temporary signs of various types and designs for businesses and public notice shall be allowed, provided they are approved by, struck out the Village Review Board, added Community Development Department, and are limited to a total of 30 days, display one time per quarter. If the applicant wishes to apply for a temporary sign that does not meet the requirements of section 18.20 of the zoning code, the applicant shall seek the approval of the Village Review Board. And then the final change, under section 18.21.6, restoring buildings, we just struck out a grammatical change, struck out of the district in which the building is situated, because conformity with district regulations stated before that. It just made more sense. With all that being said, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Looks very good. You did a lot of work.
We did a lot of work on this. It's impressive.
I don't have any
Comments?
questions.
I have a couple questions. They're not major, just questions, I guess, more than anything. The first one has to do with the 5.02 accessory dwelling units. Mm-hmm. I'm just double checking where we got the square footage limitation numbers from and whether we're sure those are sufficient. I'm asking more of if you have a larger home and you can only put a 600 square foot living space accessory structure, is that sufficient? Mm-hmm. And I mean, the 50% I totally understand, because if it's 1,000 square foot home, you obviously don't want a 600 or 800 square foot accessory structure. But on this, I'm just curious if it's a 2,500 square foot home, a 900 square foot accessory living unit for, an elderly parent or whatever it's going to be used for, is there an appeal to that, or do we have some hardcore basis we're using those numbers from?
Sure. So while doing research, we looked at several different cities that allowed this. This seemed to be roughly the industry standard.
Okay.
The reason for the difference between the two size limits in the different zoning districts are the lot sizes.
Okay.
The lot sizes in an R1A and an R1B smaller than an R1 double A.
Okay.
If an applicant at some point did want something larger than what is allowed, they could apply for a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals and state that case at that time.
Okay. Okay. That was the first one. Then 18.05C, the temporary storage units. Mm-hmm. And again, this is more just a question. The Part B, only one unit, may be permitted on any property only one time for max 30 days, not more than 3 times per calendar year. I guess one point I want to make out is that essentially says if you're doing some kind of renovation and it's going to be more than 3 months, we want them to have to go get a storage unit and haul everything away, essentially, is what we're saying with that, correct? And I guess the only other point about it would be if it's a rental property, even if it's a single family rental property, something big enough that will require something like that, you're essentially saying with this code, if they change occupants more than 3 times a year, that 4th occupant could not get a unit.
That is correct with the way it's written.
Okay.
And I'm certainly open to suggestions and whatever you guys decide to do. What I've seen most, and this is the second time I've written this particular code. I may have copied it this time from what I wrote the first time. In my experience, what we've run into a lot is someone will get a storage unit in their driveway and start a project, and then that project isn't finished for 18 months.
It becomes a shed.
It becomes a storage shed in their driveway. So this does limit that. Now, there are some issues with that. Like you said, if it's a rental unit and someone needs a pod, that 4th person is out of luck. And if a project is gonna take 3 months, then, because if you go down, you can't pull them, or, you can't pull them concurrently.
Yeah.
So, I'm open to a discussion on that. I wrote this, obviously, many years ago. But it is important, in my opinion, because this does happen often.
I completely agree. You don't want to see one sitting there 6 months, 8
Right.
months, 10 months in the same location, never moving, and maybe never moving ever. So I understand that. I'm just thinking, in what circumstances could this be a potential problem for someone who's trying to use it legitimately
Sure.
and not abusing it?
Understood. Understood.
And I don't know that I have a solution. I just wanted to bring that up to the board before we. And again, like I said, I don't know if there's a way to word in a potential exception, even if it's a staff thing where, it can go through some channel to possibly get around this particular thing if it is something legitimate. But I don't know if it's necessary either. That's one of the things that stuck out to me when I was looking at it. So I wanted to bring it up before.
Do you think we can add something like that? Where maybe the city manager or his or her representative can,
Well, yeah, I think you can always add, something like that, because it's not as if they're getting a, like a construction or zoning thing that it would require a variance, so it can
Right.
be administratively handled in terms of,
Okay.
This is the timeline, this is a fundamental thing, unless there are exigent circumstances that are approved by the zoning officer or city manager or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's, more than prudent to do in something like that.
And I'd be happy to leave it to staff. Like, I trust their judgment in it. I just think it might be pertinent in this case to have some kind of out if it's legit and
Sure.
I'd hate to have a legitimate use get denied simply because there wasn't an option for them.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's hard to have absolutes, and it's also hard to cover every single thing, but you note that there may need to be a little bit of discretion in there.
Right.
It's always safe to build that in, so long as there's a process and some standards and objective measurements to go by. Like,
Sure.
not just a free-for-all, but have a reason. Right.
Agreed.
and the time limit is the main question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Because I think it did say, yeah, so you could do it consecutively,
Right.
just not concurrently. So you couldn't have 3 units for a month, which makes perfect sense.
Right.
But like, let's say you're 90 days in and you're like, look, I'm getting my certificate of occupancy tomorrow, and then you're telling me it's got to be out of there. Like, I just need, 1 more month, and
Right.
everything's out
Right.
and it's
Sure.
gone.
Sure.
Then if it gets abusive, then obviously they'd be penalized. But
Right.
I'm just thinking something like that.
Right.
But okay.
So I'm gonna write in L. So I don't like the word appeal. All right, so what I've written in is L, the city manager or his or her representative can review an appeal of any permitted unit. And all of these are gonna be run past the city attorney anyway. So I will rely on that legal expertise to be able to
Agreed.
tighten that language up,
Sure.
to be able to give staff some discretion on someone in a special circumstance.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Do we need a motion to approve the change?
This change?
Yeah.
No, there hasn't been a motion to approve.
I mean,
any
do
of
we
the
need one?
proposals. Yeah, for this evening, for the entire.
The change
Yeah.
you just
Not
wrote.
for the line item.
No,
though.
not for this line. There will be for the
Do it.
entirety.
So,
Do it all at once.
Yeah.
so if we make a motion to approve 2203 changes, it includes that.
That's correct.
Has to include that.
The only other thing, and I didn't even notice this before, but you changed the flats on 2 lines to wall. But in the body of that section, it still says flat. Does it need
Does
to say
it?
wall? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that would, and that is something that I do need to change.
And that's it.
Reading through this,
I don't envy you at all.
cross-eyed a few times.
I don't envy you at all. I didn't even notice the flat and wall changes when I went through it the first time. I probably just breezed right over those.
Yes. So yes, in the body of the in the sign code where I changed flat to wall, in the body of those paragraphs I will change flat to wall.
Okay. Yeah. That was the last thing I saw, and I literally just saw that. But other than that, I think it looks good.
Denny or Ed, you have any questions or any comments?
No, nobody, no.
Ed,
No, I'm good.
I got a couple questions.
Sure.
Of course. Most of them apply to well, let's start with easy. 1703, where you change or is acceptable by a planning board or city council. Do we want to go with that? I mean, the whole idea behind the comprehensive plan is that everything that comes into the board or city council is in line with that comprehensive plan. With this language, we're just circumventing the comprehensive plan.
My only thought initially would be, unless we're constantly updating the comprehensive plan, like every year, it can become slightly dated. So if there's something that comes in, rather than having to update the plan first to allow whatever comes in to go through, does that make sense?
Makes sense.
I mean, I agree though, I wouldn't want to start using this on everything.
Right.
Like, to avoid the comprehensive plan, like, I don't want that out.
Right.
But
That was my rationale.
the good thing is we would control that though. Whether people could use it that way. They would have to come to us. And we could
Right.
say, well, this doesn't follow the comprehensive plan, and it should.
Well, the only hesitancy, there you go, is that by having this in pen and ink, 2 boards from us, the comprehensive plan is just put on the shelf and forgotten about because there's a workaround.
True.
By striking this addition, it forces everyone to go back to the comprehensive plan. 5 years from now. 10 years from now. So I just open that up for you guys for consideration and thought on that one.
I agree both ways. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I agree there should be some kind of out for certain circumstances, as I just said in the last, like I like having an out for very special circumstances, but I agree with Mitch. I don't want this to become, everybody just goes to the planning board to get around having to use the comprehensive plan at all. But I don't know that's another problem I don't necessarily know how to solve.
Yeah, I don't know what language to put in there to ensure that the comprehensive plan is reviewed first.
Sure. The rationale behind that is because the comprehensive plan was updated in 2019. The last update prior to 19 was 1974.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
we are constantly evolving in the city. I do like to add something.
Yeah, the only
Say that-
because of what you just said, 1974 to 2019. If this is in here and just left like this,
Right.
50 years from now,
Sure.
we'll be having the same conversation. The last update was 2019 because this workaround is in the code.
If you guys would like that to be changed, I'm happy to strike this
I
out.
don't see a problem with it. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see a problem with item 2.
Mitch, would it help if we had a something in the code saying how often the comprehensive plan had to be updated.
I mean,
Would that matter?
that's,
Because there isn't
the code's
anything
for, though.
clearly. No, but I mean, if you put something in here that like force that update to happen somehow.
but that's not the,
I agree, but I mean, in here you have it forcing you to follow the comprehensive plan. So why can't you have something saying that it
Well-
had to be reviewed or something somewhere else in the city?
The planning board and city council should be following the comprehensive plan anyway. So. this
should
is-
be. But they haven't, but we haven't been since 1974.
2019.
The industry standard for a comprehensive plan is typically 10 years.
Updated every 10 years.
What forces that to happen though? Nothing, just diligence.
Pretty much, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a statute. So yeah, just diligence of the city to move forward with
All right.
reviewing and updating as necessary.
And that would basically be a policy and code decision. Because there's language in the charter about the planning board presenting and recommending a comprehensive plan and reviewing it and updating it as needed.
Okay, so
And
that's where,
that's already in the charter.
so that's where that language belongs, okay.
So what you're saying is that you were thinking that maybe this should be scrapped because it's a workaround for the comprehensive plan.
Correct,
And since we have the comprehensive plan, this is not necessary.
correct.
Okay.
But like I said, the planning board and the city council should be following the comprehensive plan.
Should be.
Well, should be, yeah. If they're worth their salt. Like I said, I don't see an issue with that.
You have any comment on that, Ed? On that line? Either way.
I see your point, but really all this is a tune-up of the comprehensive plan.
Okay, okay.
I mean, that's the way I see it.
All right, I'm good with that. I just wanted to put that out there on the table.
All right.
The other ones are, so the temporary storage units, right? Should, quote, temporary storage unit have a definition?
It does in the definitions. That was an addition in the definitions.
In the 1805?
No, in the definitions code, which is Article 3.
Yeah. See, like, we have that temporary storage container, but we don't have temporary storage unit.
Oh, did I not name them? I did not name them.
They're
the same
named differently.
thing.
Good call.
Eagle eyes.
Man.
Man,
Telling you
Temporary
what.
storage container in definitions will be changed to temporary storage unit.
All right.
on it, Mitch. I like it.
Second question, and this is kind of where I have the heartburn, is do we need to force a permit for a 30-day pod?
If we don't, though, how do we stop people from leaving them there forever?
Well, if you have a pod in your driveway or wherever for more than 30 days, then you need a permit.
How do you measure the 30 days?
Yeah, without the permit, you don't know when it got there. That's kind of the
So-
problem.
Much like any other accessory building or accessory structure or detached garage, we require a permit because it allows the city to be able to control what's there. So, for instance, if someone has a pod in their driveway today, there are zero regulations. Zero. So it could stay there for the next 100 years. By requiring a permit, it allows me to know exactly when the when the pod was placed there. And then if it's there on the 31st today, I can let them know that they need to get another permit. Or if, hey, the pod people are coming to get it tomorrow. Okay, fair enough, right. But it allows me, or anybody on the staff for that matter, to be able to control what goes on with the pod.
Yeah, personally, just getting the permit for a 30-day pod, I think that's too intrusive. And I don't know how to capture that in any vote, so just hold that thought. The next one is, section D in that 1805, section C, item D, totally visible from the right of way. What do you mean by that?
It has to be able to be seen from the street.
Okay, okay. And section E, behind the sidewalk on private property?
Yes.
I don't understand behind the sidewalk.
Okay, so a lot of neighborhoods in Bellbrook don't have sidewalks.
Right.
The ones that do, from the back of the sidewalk to the streets to public right of way.
I gotcha. Okay. I'm good with that. Okay. That's it. Those are the only questions I got.
Back to the pod thing real quick. The language could be that for any period 30 days or more, a permit is required. But it's going to be pretty discretionary and open as to how long that previous 30 days is. Is it when it's been sitting there for 6 months and somebody calls, and then we know, then the 30 days starts from that point in time. So just be aware there's,
I know.
two sides to everything, and
Yeah.
I certainly respect that point and not wanting the code to be intrusive. Believe me, I really agree. But maybe we back that down to say anything more than maybe 14 days or 2 weeks requires a permit. That way, that gives a little bit of ability to at least be responsive if one has been sitting and we do get a complaint and it is causing issues within the neighborhood. We can have a response within 2 weeks rather than waiting a whole month, which is, quite a difference in response.
I can live with that.
So, if somebody has a temporary project or something in a couple weeks so they can get it done, no problem, shouldn't be an issue. But if they breach that and are getting probably closer to that 30 days, that kind of gives a little bit more ability to get in and educate them and get some action and get permits or whatever, and be responsive to the other residents in the
Right.
neighborhood to show that some action's taken. Does that kind of
Yep.
maybe fit the bill?
I can live with that.
Okay.
Would we charge for a permit for a pod?
Yes.
Oh, man, that's another issue.
Should that be in here?
It would be added to the fee schedule.
Fee schedule, under pods, okay, all right. But it's under fee schedule currently. I mean,
There's no pod permitting in the.
no pod permit currently,
No.
Correct.
so, okay. So we're gonna come up with the fee schedule?
Yeah, I would make it the same as a temporary sign because the time frames are exactly the same.
Okay,
So that would be $25.
okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like that number.
I don't like that one.
Not at all. Not for a 30-day pod. Is that because you're gonna have to go out and verify at the end of 30 days that it's gone?
Yes.
I'm okay with that because, for example, oh, we have a visitor. Hi, Kathy. Up the street from where I live, there's been a pod there for months. It's a giant eyesore. That I'm going to ask Jason about after we approve this.
So, how about instead of a fee for permit, there's a, so this may be an enforcement thing, I don't know, but instead of a fee for a permit, there's a penalty fee for exceeding the code.
Can't do that.
On it.
So while it's fresh in my head.
Permitting can't be punitive, so you're basically making, a judgment on a violation of a code, and assessing a fine to it, so that'd be,
I don't think $25 for,
our fees are pretty low compared to,
that's not bad. That's for 3 months, right?
That's per
That's each
30
time.
days.
Per 30
So
days.
if you wanted
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
a pod for 3 months, it would be $75.
$75, oh.
When I wrote this the first time, the fee was 50
Oh,
for 30 days.
glad I didn't need a pod back then.
So
would it be,
not here.
Yeah.
and I too appreciate, not creating overregulation or, excessive fees or, circumventing taxes or whatever on residents. Maybe the time frame of the length of the permit. So if somebody is going to need that permit, then maybe it is, instead of for every 30 days, it's for a permit up to, extend that out, 90 days or
Yeah.
something like that, so that if somebody has a project that they need that.
Or even if you have to do it like consecutive, it's a lower fee the next.
Well, I could
Can you do that?
make it
You can do
for
that too.
up to 90 days.
do that.
One permit for up to 90 days. So
Okay.
now it's not 3 times a year. I can strike that. A permit for up to 90 days in a calendar year.
Right.
Or 90 consecutive days.
Right.
90 consecutive.
I like that.
Yep.
Is that better?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
You almost then have to take out the 3 times a year though.
Yeah.
You'd have to it'd just be 90 days
Correct.
period.
For up to
Yeah.
90 days.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Is that better?
I can live with that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
All right,
it's
let
good,
me-
good discussion.
Let me make some changes here and I'll go over those.
Well, yeah, you've alleviated one of my problems anyway, because if you can get a pod for 14 or less for nothing, that wouldn't even count as any of your 90 days. So moving people wouldn't have an issue because it shouldn't take you more than 2 weeks to move out or move into a place. So that alleviates one of my earlier concerns anyway. So
And again, something exigent, they come in and say, hey, our mover's canceled, they're not gonna be for another week. We're gonna work with them.
as long as there's something like that,
it's
staff
really-
can give leeway on something like that. I just don't want to penalize people for something outside their control when they're trying to comply.
And there's some discretion in here
Sure.
that's given in other parts of the code and also other places that, if someone calls and says, hey, my mover's canceled, they're not gonna be able to do it until Tuesday and it's Wednesday the week, I'm gonna say, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna work with people because it's legitimate. If I have to go out to a property and put you in violation and you never call me and you don't respond to anything, that's different.
Understood.
Sure.
But here are the changes. We'll make sure that everyone is okay. So 1805 CA, a permit is required for the use and placement of a temporary storage unit if the unit is in place for more than 14 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
B, only one unit may be permitted on any property at any time for a maximum of 90 consecutive days per calendar year.
Yes.
Yep.
As long as you think that doesn't give them a loophole to do like.
I knew you were gonna go there.
What if they do 45 days here and then they want to do it again 2 months later? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but so long as that's a legal question though. That's more of a attorney question.
Sure.
And I'm just saying, as
all
long
of
as it
this will
doesn't.
go to the attorney.
Okay.
Well, the word consecutive is in there.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Okay.
That's true.
And then, of course, the addition from earlier, which would be L, where the city manager or his or her representative can review an appeal of any permitted unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
like
good.
like a rehab that's
like
gonna
that.
take a little bit of
Yeah.
time or something,
Yeah.
that's.
No, I like that a lot
We encourage
better.
stuff like that and would want people to properly contain the storage stuff and.
I'm sorry, I got one more. Sorry, gents.
All right.
The strike of temporary sign may bear a non-commercial message. There's a strikeout of if the non-commercial message relate to an election or other event, such signs are removed within 10 days following the conclusion of the event. that was struck out,
need a
I
drink of
think,
water.
2 or 3 different
Is there
areas.
water in the fridge?
Yes.
I believe that was struck out in 2 or 3 different areas.
Yes.
And you said the purpose is free speech. I get it. I love it. But political signs or any signs being out 10 days, 20 days past the event, I don't want to use the word trashy, but I can't think of any other word. But eventually that just gets,
And
And we have no control over that, I guess.
so on a commercial property, we might be able to leave that in, but on a residential property, the Supreme Court disagrees.
all right.
So,
Like I said, I agree with it. I love
on-
it, but it's just, you know,
and on a
from
commercial
an
property,
aesthetic standpoint.
I think we might be able to bear it out with the attorney on, hey, these have to be removed in a certain period of time. But if it's on private property, in a residential property,
Okay.
the
I think it still applies commercial.
All right. Yeah, I just want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah the Ohio Supreme Court, well, and I think the United States Supreme Court actually,
Okay. That's fine.
has called political signs free speech. Believe me,
All right.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, I was just thinking from an aesthetic standpoint.
No, I agree totally.
Okay.
I agree totally.
That's all I had. How we feeling?
Good.
Better now, huh?
Are we
It
done
is
this?
better. I'm happier.
Yeah.
I think we're done. We need a
Okay.
motion now.
I would like to make a motion to approve Planning Board 2203 zoning code updates.
I'll second.
A motion to approve the zoning code updates based on the staff report and amendments discussed tonight. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Stengel,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to open discussion. Anything from the,
Yes, I would like to ask Jason about the, are you aware of the pond on Regent Park?
I am in.
Okay. Yeah, it's been there a while, I think.
It has.
Okay.
But we don't have any code to do anything about it
That is correct.
until this goes to council anyway.
That is correct. If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I would like to say something else.
Yeah,
This is something, these updates are something that I would probably do every year, at least review them. You know, everyone knows there are many changes all the time, particularly for building materials. And allowing new trends to become possible for people is a big deal to me. So don't be surprised if you may see some changes come before you every year, just to touch it up, so we can stay as current as possible.
well, doing so would also cause a revisit to that comprehensive plan, especially if materials are, you know, whatnot.
Right.
So that's good. That's good. Okay.
And then I will ship this off to the attorney tomorrow. And I'm still waiting on a return from Article 14 in the Property Maintenance Code from the attorney. He's taking his time, so I may have to spur him along a little bit, but it will be sent to him tomorrow for review.
All right. Thanks. Anything else?
Nope. Nothing here.
Motion
We
to
have some
adjourn.
people in the audience who
I
would like
know.
to talk.
Any comments from the audience? Residents?
They just want to go home.
Maybe Gary Shed first.
I think Dairy Shed is in the future.
No, I'm missing one. That one would be really upset.
Oh.
You can't do that.
The word.
Yep. Just an adjourn. Just a motion.
Okay.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yep. Got me.
Too slow, Denny.
Too slow.
Is it adjourned?
It's adjourned. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Sorry about that.
No, we don't need a motion to adjourn.